Hello, I'm Randy McClure. Welcome to the latest supply chain tech brief.
It's kind of crazy, right? We live in a world of instant everything, instant communication, instant downloads, yet tracking a physical package can feel so, well, ancient and totally unreliable. It turns out the whole massive system that moves goods around the globe is running on some seriously messy data. So today, we're going to try and unsnarl that digital mess. Okay, let's just start with this quote because industry expert Randy McClure absolutely nailed it. Digital duct tape. It's the perfect way to describe it. All these makeshift, patched together systems trying desperately to hold the global flow of goods together. So, there's a technical term for this digital duct tape mess. It's called a lack of data interoperability. And yeah, that sounds complicated. But all it really means is that different computer systems can't talk to each other. They just don't speak the same language. And this isn't some small glitch, you guys. It is the single biggest roadblock to having a modern, secure supply chain. If we don't fix this, all that money we're pouring into cool tech like AI and the Internet of Things, it's basically like putting lipstick on a pig. All right, so let's pull on this thread a little more. Let's take a closer look at this digital duct tape and really understand why it's such a deep, fundamental weakness in our global logistics network. Okay, so the heart of the problem is that shipping data follows what you could call old cow paths. Think about it. These are ancient, inefficient routes that we've just paved over with technology instead of designing something new and better. This just creates a completely fragmented mess of information, weakly connecting operations, finance, and planning. The result? Total digital chaos. Now, this chaos isn't just one big blob of a problem. It actually has four distinct faces. So let's break this down from an abstract idea into the real, concrete challenges that businesses and government agencies are fighting every single day. Let's break it down. First up, the data is siloed. It's trapped inside individual companies. So nobody, and I mean nobody, has the full picture. Second, it's fragmented. You've got these huge mountains of data, but almost no real insights. Then you've got the sheer complexity of it all, which makes trying to automate anything a complete nightmare. And finally, you have critical info being split between the folks moving the goods and the folks managing the money. That's a surefire recipe for disaster. And this is where it hits home for you and me. This digital chaos, it's the reason the estimated delivery date for your package can be so ridiculously off. It's why massive companies and entire ports can't see a traffic jam, a bottleneck forming until it's way too late. And that's when you get those huge shipping delays we've all been dealing with. So, the problem is pretty clear. It's a huge systemic mess. But who on earth can fix something this big? And that leads us to the big question. Can the government actually step in and help unsnarl all this? Well, the answer seems to be yes, and they've got a pretty big toolkit to make it happen. Federal agencies can use new laws to push for data standards, they can offer cash incentives to get companies to upgrade their systems, and they can create public-private partnerships to build new solutions together. They can also invest in infrastructure, work with other countries on global standards, and beef up data security. And believe it or not, this isn't just talk. This is actually happening. So let's see how this is being put into practice. We're going to look at three specific U.S. government agencies that are right on the front lines working on this problem as we speak. First up, we've got the Department of Transportation, the DOT. Their mission is pretty straightforward: deliver the world's leading transportation system. And these days, a huge part of that means tackling this data problem head on. Their big project is called Flow. Now, don't think of this as an app for tracking your Amazon package. It's much bigger. Think of it more like a high-level strategic dashboard for the entire country. Flow gathers data from all the major players, shippers, ports, you name it, and it helps spot those system-wide bottlenecks at U.S. ports, things like a shortage of trucks or not enough warehouse space, before they turn into a full-blown crisis. Next, let's talk about U.S. Customs and Border Protection, or CPB. Their job is a balancing act: secure our borders, but also make sure legitimate trade can move as smoothly as possible. And for both of those things, clean data is absolutely essential. So CBP's main play here is to create a common language for all this trade data. A really important piece of this is their Global Business Identifier initiative. The easiest way to think of it is like a universal social security number for every single company involved in a shipment, from the factory that made the item to the truck that delivers it. Getting this one single reliable ID in place is a massive leap forward toward getting true end-to-end visibility and finally bringing some clarity to this whole mess. And last but not least, let's look at the Federal Maritime Commission, the FMC. These are the folks who regulate the entire ocean transportation system. And if you've ever been frustrated by port delays, you know just how critical their work is. Okay, so the FMC's big initiative is all about bringing some transparency to the absolute chaos of port operations. They're pushing hard for common data standards so that everyone, the shipping line, the port operator, the trucking company, is literally on the same page, working from the same playbook. This would give everybody accurate, timely information to help fight huge problems like wildly inaccurate ship schedules and that terrible visibility that causes all those delays. And this slide right here, it perfectly sums up the transformation we're talking about. We're trying to move from where we are now, this rigid, siloed system that gives us fragmented data and slow decisions, to a future state, a future with a flexible, always improving digital foundation that gives us high-speed, on-demand insights. So the million-dollar question is, how do we get there? How do we actually build that future? Well, there's a pretty clear four-part blueprint for making it happen. Let's walk through it. First things first, we need a shared business glossary so everybody is speaking the exact same language. Second, we need an interlinked data framework to finally connect all the dots. Third, we've got to deploy some really high-impact AI to automate and analyze all this data. And fourth, the Department of Transportation needs to step up and lead this as a national mission. Now, right at the heart of this new data framework is this really cool concept called the golden thread. The big idea is to create something called a transport unit identifier, or a TUID. Basically, it's a single standard ID for every single shipment. This one ID would then follow that shipment from the very beginning to the very end, stitching all that disconnected, fragmented data back together into one single cohesive story. And for that third step, deploying AI, we're not just talking about buzzwords. We're talking about specific technologies. Computer vision AI can literally see what's happening with physical cargo and translate that into digital data, bridging that physical to digital gap. Then you have something called multi-hop reasoning AI, which can connect all those scattered data points from finance, operations, and planning to give us real-time insights, finally getting rid of all that slow manual work. Which brings us right to our final thought. Our physical world is more interconnected than it has ever been in human history. The flow of goods across the planet is constant. The real question is, can we finally get our act together and build the data infrastructure to match it? Can we build something just as connected, just as robust, and just as intelligent? The answer to that is going to define the future of global commerce.
Hello, this is Raina McClure from SC Tech Insights. Thank you for listening. For more on this topic, click the article link below or go to www.sctechinsights.com for the latest insights on supply chain technology. Thank you and see you next time.